Alright, what is up guys, this is Spooky, and we're back here at the booth, indie.xsplit, where we're showing off many of the cool, independently developed games that you can play here at PAX East. Lots of the high-level cool stuff. Anyway, joining me is Colin and Chris.
Hello.
And you guys have a new title to show us today?
Yeah, we're going to be showing you Below, which is a game we've been working on for quite a while. It's kind of a roguelike, it's kind of an adventure game, it's kind of a Souls-like, it's sort of a sword and sorcery-like. It's a whole bunch of different likes into one, but in general, it's just like a really nice, moody, dark dungeon crawler. So Colin's going to be starting off. I'm not sure if
I think we got the wrong one.
That one there?
It should be the one that has the number 1 on it. That one was just working. I just used it.
Well, I'll just start talking a little bit about.
Sorry about that. Is that one it? It got switched during that because before it was.
Oh, is that it? You can. All right.
There we go.
Okay, awesome.
Right, there we go.
All right, guys, so we're gonna check it out.
All right, so Colin's starting to play the game. The game is about a little wanderer arriving on mysterious islands, and the game's all about exploring the subterranean layers of this world. In Below, there's no text, there's no hints, there's no tutorials. It's really a game about exploration in kind of every sense of the way. It's about exploring the environment, kind of learning about what the world is about, what the purpose of your journey actually is.
Is he scaling that right now? Is that like a wall? Okay,
yeah, he's climbing up to the cliff wall to the plateau of the isle. The isle is sort of the main hub of the game. And from there, you can enter into the actual depths of the world. There's other locations on the isle as well. And as you sort of play the game, you kind of unlock little shortcuts that feed back into the world. So, so the game kind of does unlock different paths as you go.
I see.
At the start, though, you arrive on a little boat, and the way you kind of get into the world is by climbing up into the black gates.
So you mentioned that this game is a roguelike or has roguelike elements. Does that mean that this area we're seeing is a randomly generated area?
No. So the game Below is kind of interesting because it does combine roguelike elements, which is procedurally generated levels with handcrafted little narrative areas that tell the story and the history of the world. So, so as you're sort of exploring through these randomly generated levels, you're discovering these little pockets of like little secret areas that tell you, what happened before on this island, what's the purpose of the island. So, for example, this area here is not randomly generated. If you've ever played a game like Shiren the Wanderer or anything like that, that game has a similar kind of structure in that in between the sort of towns and stuff like that, there's just like a randomly generated bunch of levels that you got to go through. So that's sort of similar in a way to how Below's structured, but nothing's really quite similar to Below.
I like the aesthetic that we've seen so far. You're kind of traveling around this little abandoned area. He hasn't really run into any enemies or any other people yet. This
is the beginning of the game, so he's actually about to get into sort of what's considered level 1.
Okay.
This is sort of the little antechamber before that, where Colin's about to show a little bit of. Well, actually, he doesn't have too many ingredients because it's starting the game, but the game does have a little minimalistic crafting system that we've been working on for quite a long time. You can, through the system, you can craft soups, which are basically kind of like Below's potions. And then there's also a tool crafting section as well, where you can create useful items like band-aids or torches or arrows and things like that.
I see. It's funny that you said items instead of weapons. Does that mean that you're focusing more on puzzle elements?
No. The items are mostly related to survival aspects. So, for example, like every item that you make is really related to just helping you stay alive. So whether it's dealing with Below has a bleeding health system. So when you get hit, you begin to bleed right away, which means basically that one hit can sometimes kill you if you don't really know how to deal with that kind of issue in the game.
That's very cool.
And so you're always kind of trying to fill your backpack with the kind of items that will help you descend further into the world and survive a little bit deeper. As you explore the world, it becomes darker. Obviously, it becomes a little bit harder as you kind of enter into new areas. We introduce new little enemies and things like that. And the game also becomes colder. So at the top of the world, it's like a little bit more resource rich, and then as you get deeper and deeper, it really becomes more about planning and what you've actually stored in your backpack in order to really get into the depths of
I see. So you really have to plan ahead. I mean, that is kind of a roguelike trait, if you will.
Exactly. There's a little bit of that. You learn sort of as you play. You learn what the crafted combinations are. You learn where important areas are in the world. and then you can sort of optimize your runs and just get better at getting deeper.
Each time you'll get a little further and get a little better.
Exactly. And the other thing about the game too is that even though you are starting as a new character every time you die, the game world itself, the isle itself, is persistent. So one of the main kind of themes in the game is that you're building on the progress of others. So if one wanderer makes its way through the isle and manages to open up some special door or something like that, or kill a special enemy, that's something that a new wanderer that arrives will be able to take advantage of. So it is a single quest that you are trying to complete over the span of multiple lives. Yeah, that's one of the big kind of ideas in the game.
Man, I love just the ambient factor in general. This whole fog of war everywhere, making it hard to figure out where to go.
Thanks. Colin's actually the graphics programmer.
Nice.
So a lot of the reasons why the game looks so damn pretty these days is Colin's work and obviously the programming team at Capy.
Yeah, I see a lot of complicated work here.
Yeah, it's I think we've been working on the game for quite a long time, and a lot of it has been trying to solve sort of the difficulty of making a game at this scale. And for us, it's been quite a challenge too, because it's been our first 3D game as well. But I feel very kind of proud and happy with where we are right now. And Colin, do you want to chat a little bit about
sure.
that? Or
I'll
play. Yeah,
okay.
I'll play. You chat.
All right, so Chris is going to play too, and Colin, tell us about some of the graphical work that you've done.
Yeah. So one of the big challenges for Below, and why we've taken so long to really get it to where it is it started off mostly as a 2D game, and a lot of our original trailer that we showed at Microsoft's press conference was almost entirely 2D.
Okay.
Except for the character and some of the enemies and stuff like that. Yeah.
And we really, that was our concept art. Like that was the goal that we were trying to hit in terms of what we wanted to do with the graphics. And really, our challenge was once we started adding light and dark as it's obviously a very important element in the game. Once we started adding lights, we realized we wanted like really detailed, intricate shadows.
I'm glad you said that. Sorry to interrupt, because we had a developer here earlier today, and they said, hey, we're making a 2D game and we want to add light into our game. Yeah. And that was a whole huge process what they ended up having to do is they ended up having to take every sprite and have like 4 different colors of the sprite for all the lighting scenarios that could come up for that sprite. And
exactly.
One cool thing about this is that, now with the later games, kind of in the older days, it's difficult to take a 3D look and give it that 2D kind of animated style to it.
Right.
But I see here with this that you've managed to pull it off pretty well.
Yeah, and then one of our actual inspirations is there's old Disney films that have cell animation where they hand draw lit characters. Like they that's an artistic representation. And we're mixing sort of the cell lighting for the characters with more painterly backgrounds with softer lighting. And we think it's something that's pretty unique.
I see a lot of unique stuff. I like the water here that's pouring kind of through the chasm.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So right now I'm about to. Every time you go to sleep by a fire in Below, you enter into this little cave called the Pocket. And the Pocket's sort of like the little HQ, the headquarters for all the Wanderers. It's sort of a little space that's shared between lives. So it's a place where you can go and drop things off. If you've created some unique items or anything like that, or found some unique weapons, you can leave them in this little headquarters for you to sort of like get back to and use. So this is sort of like your little storage zone. So you can sort of use this area to build up what you need in order to get deeper into the game.
That sounds really useful. If you have the wrong tools for the job, maybe you can come back and snag something.
Exactly. And also if you had a good run, you managed to create some good tools and stuff like that. Here, do you want to play? I'm actually having a hard time crafting something while talking. But if sometimes you have a good run and make some useful items that you don't want to lose when you die. And so if you do manage to make it back to this little headquarters, this little hideout that you have, then you can maybe drop some stuff off and go into a riskier zone and not worry too much about dying, because you can sort of save some of your progress as well.
I see.
Yeah, and so any quest items and stuff like that can be saved here as well. And there's a little lantern perch for you to use here. So this is something that ties all the lives together. It's a little place that you can visit from between deaths, basically. Do you want to head back to the?
Yep.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that little light or statue thing there?
In the game, one of the main kind of parts of the game is the game mechanics is the lantern. The lantern is kind of like our Ocarina of Time in a way, and what I mean by that is that it's kind of our main quest item. So a lot of the main quest progress is linked to the lantern, but there's only one lantern in the whole game. So if you go into the world with it and die, the lantern will be left by your corpse. And then in order to retrieve it and take advantage of the little benefits that the lantern gives you, you'll have to do a run in order to retrieve it. So it is a little bit hardcore.
There's kind of corpse running, which is cool.
Yeah, it's
not something that too many people put in games anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely corpse running, but it has a little bit of a unique twist, and it means that basically every time you lose the lantern, the game becomes a little bit harder because it becomes a little bit darker, and there are other useful uses for the lantern. So it is a big relief when you finally do make it back to your corpse and pick up that little glowing light, because light in the game becomes much more of an important resource as you travel
yeah,
deeper.
it seems to me that would be difficult for him to navigate some of these areas without.
Definitely. Though you can craft torches, and also every time you kill certain kinds of enemies, they drop these little glowing orbs, these little crystals. And they do add light to the game. So once you get deeper into the world, that becomes a way to actually, like, every time you kill an enemy, you are adding a little pinprick of light. And then it becomes a trade-off between, do I want to take all my loot, or do I need this light in order to see what's in this world?
So the character that you're playing now, does the character have a name?
The character is just called the Wanderer. Every time you die, you arrive on the island with a new little boat and a new costume. And you are a new character.
I see.
We also randomize the voice, so the Wanderer is not male or female. It's sort of just a neutral.
They're just a Wanderer. They could be anyone.
Yeah, and at that scale, we don't. There's no other ways to represent any of the sexes aside from the voice changes and voice modulation. So, yeah, pretty much the Wanderer is anybody, and it's more about a group of these wanderers that are sort of drawn to this isle like moths to a flame, and they sort of are,
just trying to figure. They're drawn. They want to figure out the mysteries. What is this weird, foggy place?
Yeah.
Why do I need a lantern everywhere?
And there's a little relationship between the wanderers and sort of the main villain of the game, which we have not revealed.
I see.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been in development for?
We've actually been in development quite a while. We've been working on it for 4 years. Not like full steady stream. We also we made Super Time Force in between as well. So it's it's been a long project for us for sure. It's been very challenging, but it's also been sort of the most ambitious project that we've ever tried to make.
I really love what I see so far. Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's also the biggest game that we've made too. Like mechanically, it's quite dense, and then the game world that we're actually creating for people to explore is probably the biggest thing that we've ever tried to make. So lots of reasons for taking our time, but sometimes with developers, independent developers don't often have too much opportunity to really take their time with the game. And we happen to be in a situation where we could keep a game in the oven for long enough to let it mature, and so we decided to take that. So
okay.
And this is the result, and I'm really happy with it. It's coming out in end of summer.
Cool.
And
what platforms?
It's coming out for Xbox One and Steam at the same time.
Nice.
That's our plan. Oh my
No!
goodness!
You didn't see that, guys. You didn't see that. That didn't happen. Don't worry.
Oh. It hasn't crashed at all.
The entire show.
The entire show. That's how it works, though. Things crash on streams.
It happens. To be fair, we have like 4 pads hooked up to that thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
the game's like, whoa, what are all these extra game pads?
There we go.
All right.
Luckily, we anticipate this,
We're back.
and we're
Oh,
back.
you can continue. Oh, nice.
continue.
So
Yeah.
does it auto-save your progress
Yes,
as
it
you do
does.
it?
So,
Nice. That's
so
awesome.
one of the things about it that's maybe a little bit different than this is actually good. The good thing this happened.
Yeah, it's
so one of the
great.
things that's a little bit different than regular roguelikes is that it really it's not a game where you just sit down and play until you die. You can play the game with one life, and if it takes you if you're playing it for a couple hours. And you get to some spot, you got to save your game, and you got to exit. It will save your game there. So,
That's great.
for example, if you go into that little pocket and go to sleep, you can just restore your game there. Of course, when that player dies, then it does start over. But it does allow you to continue a game from where you left off, so that you can keep one life going for multiple playthroughs or multiple play sessions. I mean,
The little icon at the top left, does that represent how much lantern time you have left?
Right, yeah. So the lantern uses the fuel that it uses is the little crystals that you kill off the little creatures.
Okay.
You knock those crystals off of them. And the crystals are also the currency in the game. So there's a trade-off between do I want to use the lantern for light, for defensive purposes, or for any other sort of uses that the lantern might have? Or do I want to keep these crystals for secret things that require currency?
I see.
Let's just say there's a shop in the game.
Okay.
But it's pretty far deep into the game. So good luck finding it. Yeah. One other thing that I can talk about is the combat system. So one thing that we're really keen on, we're really big fans of Wind Waker and Dark Souls, of those games.
I see a little bit of a kind of overhead Zelda.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
Zelda 1,
that's our
Zelda
big,
3.
Yeah, Wind Waker is our main kind of inspiration, I think, for the way the combat feels, the way your character moves. I always thought that Wind Waker was like peak Zelda combat. You kind of Link in that game it was super agile, very kind of nimble, just kind of like a little ninja. So in this game, you play a very sort of nimble little character.
Style, yeah. Dodge a lot, attack from behind if you can.
Right, but you're also incredibly fragile. Like you're always pretty much one hit or one trap away from death. But you do have a good repository of moves to whether they're defensive or offensive. So it's a game that really asks the player to get good at the combat, as opposed to it's not a game about stat building. It's not a game about grinding it out. It's really a game where you either become good at the system or you perish. And I'm a big fan of that. I really like games that are more that ask more out of the player's skill than they do out of the player's time, I guess. Whereas I think grinding games kind of sort of lean a little bit more on.
It's about time.
Yeah, just put in
How
the
long
time
do
and
you
you'll get
grind?
through it.
Yep.
You're eventually going to have the hit points to kill this dude, and that's
Guilty.
it. Yeah. So yeah, in this game it's just like you either know how to use your sword and shield, or you're
dead.
Or you're dead. Or you're dead. Yeah.
So for the folks at home who are watching on our broadcast, where can you find more information about Below?
The website is whatliesbelow.com. You can also find information on capybaragames.com and at Capy Games on Twitter.
That's CAPY Games.
Yeah, CAPY Games. Capy, based off of the animal, the capybara, which is not from Canada, where we're from. It's a very confusing name for us. But yeah, whatliesbelow.com is the main source. So there you can find our newest trailer, which I'm super happy with, and our new website as well, with some cool screenshots and stuff like that. As we get closer to launch, we'll be putting up a coming soon page on Steam, and it's trying to sort of galvanize the community as we get closer to
Cool, I see.
to go time.
All right, so is there anything else that you'd like to say to the folks at home?
No, I maybe want to shout out to Jim Guthrie, who's doing the music for the game. He did the music for Sword and Sorcery. So he's been working with us for
Sword and Sorcery. I love that game.
Yeah, awesome.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, that was the game we made before this game.
Oh.
So that's kind of where
I'm so bad with developers. I didn't even realize that was your game. I've played that game like way too much.
Well, it was a collaboration.
It's on my
It was
laptop
like
right
it was a 50% our game. It was us and Super Brothers, which is Craig Adams, and Jim Guthrie, and then this is the game that we began right after that to sort of build on the the aesthetics and sort of sensibilities of Sword and Sorcery, but pair it with some really meaty mechanics and some really hardcore gameplay.
Awesome.
Sorcery was like a gorgeous, beautiful game, but this game I feel like pushes much more deeper into
I can see
mechanics.
where you said, "Hey, we already had a good game, but we want to take it to the next level now with our next title."
Yeah,
And
something that just has a deeper kind of richness on the mechanical side. I'm not going to say that Below is deeper or richer than Sorcery in other ways, but yeah, that's something that is definitely where this game comes from. It's oh,
Wow, he's getting smart. Look at all this stuff.
good lord. As you can see, Colin's about to die. Oh no, wait, no, he's
I'm not
fine.
bleeding.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Maybe end it by stepping on that trap.
Oh, he did it!
Made it so far.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, your character is like always one hit from death, and then now you start a new character. So if Colin goes back into the world's going to be randomly generated.
Ah, I see.
And the corpse of the last character will be where it was dropped with the lantern and with some loot. Some loot sticks around. Like for example, bottles are persistent. There's only a set amount in the whole game, and they're super useful for crafting potions and things like that. So yeah, now Colin has no lantern, but he does have a torch. And the torch
that helps.
The torch is really pretty.
The torch not as good as the lantern, huh?
It's not as good, mainly because it is a trade-off between the torch and the shield. So now he has to deal with holding a torch and having a sword. So it's a bit less of a defensive. He's just a little bit more exposed. But at the same time, the torch does have other benefits as well. It can keep certain enemies back. So there are pros and cons to using each of the different light sources.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness.
All right, guys. So I believe that our time is almost up. But
Thank
once
you very
again,
much.
I want to thank you guys, Chris and Colin. Thank you
thank
both
you so
very
much.
much for
Thank you.
showing us Below. Looks incredible. Definitely excited to try it out some myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, good luck, guys. I hope that it works out well
for
for you.
people at Indie Mega Booth, at PAX. Come by the Indie Mega Booth. That's where we're at. If you're looking forward to checking it out, we'll be there.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Thank
so
you
once
very
again,
much.
thank you. So once again, that was Below, guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. It looked very, very cool. Awesome adventure game with roguelike elements. Make sure to check it out, fellas. And again, this is Spooky. You're here at Indie.XSplit. It is not over just yet, so stick around because we've got some action from the folks at Devolver Digital coming up momentarily. See you guys in just a bit. Cool.